Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Jiayanu pakhairagale ni hao chunashumme washmale. Ohio Gonzalez, Guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasal, marhaba. Buna mucho gracias, swabi abballi kare aaya. Hosh ke hal din anaya sayo, khuyamora, chibato. Ji hal yod, kalimera, khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. With me, I'm very lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Ms. Haja Satti. We hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you guys are...
I'm sorry for interjecting here, but we have to go on a short break. Welcome back, and before going on to the break, we were talking about the weather today and how the weather is beautiful today, but let's explore the nuanced approach when we talk about the weather, about the climate change and how it is interlinked with the disaster management and how it is impacting the tourism industry, because Pakistan, particularly the northern areas of Pakistan, holds immense potential for the tourism, and we have seen that how tourism is bustling there, but it is also very vulnerable to all of these change in the weather patterns, especially the rainfall that we receive, the monsoons, the landsliding that all happens there, and how can we make a more better, a climate resilient tourism sector, not just tourism sector, but also when we talk about our country, Pakistan. So without any further...
But before we do that, we do have weather updates for all our viewers who are out there as well. So let's take a good look at what's happening in Islamabad today. We'll take you to Lahore and Karachi and Peshawar as well. So let's take a good look, because, while I was leaving for work, it looked like as if it's going to rain over here in Islamabad. So today, ladies and gentlemen, there's 70% chance the temperature is going to be in between 26 till 31 as well. And I guess it's going to rain for a couple of days over here in Islamabad. So everybody, please make sure that you are rain resilient as well. Make sure that you've got umbrellas in your cars or wherever you are going. Saturday, Sunday, I think it's going to be fantastic for the people of Islamabad. Moving on to Karachi. Let's see what's happening in Karachi, because if it rains in Karachi, it's really a problem because of the fact that it's not really a planned city. So today it's just a little windy. On Friday it's fine. On Saturday it's fine as well. But I guess towards the weekend it looks like as if it's going to rain as well. So 31 degrees centigrade, windy, and the highest happens to be 32 degrees and the lowest happens to be 28. Moving on towards the capital of Punjab, which is going to be Lahore. So Lahore, wow. I mean, I don't know whether I should say wow or not, because imagine that in 44 years, today happens to be that day where torrential rain has broken its record, of the downpour as well. And a lot of people are struggling over there. So it's still raining. Please make sure that you take all the precautionary measures if you can. Otherwise, ask for help for people who are around you. Let's move on to Peshawar, the city of flowers, ladies and gentlemen, where today it's mostly sunny. Thank you, iPhone, for giving us such wonderful updates as well. Today it might rain, and the temperature is going to vary from 27 degrees centigrade to 36 degrees centigrade. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday it's going to rain. So yeah, people who are out there, please make sure that whatever you need to do, whenever the conditions are dry, make sure that you step outside the house to do whatever you're supposed to do today. In addition to this, because I mentioned that the downpour in Lahore has actually broken 44 years record as well. So we have a small report to share with all of our viewers whether how the weather has taken a turn, or the monsoon torrential rains are actually, God forbid, destroying a bit of Pakistan's property. Let's go. I think we're taking a little bit of time. There are technical difficulties, and our producer today happens to be all by himself. So let's go, ladies and gentlemen, take a good look at this report. All right, so we have another technical issue,
well,
or probably...
I think just let's skip it, and, we can talk about it and we can have the visual representation. But without further monopolizing our conversation, let's kickstart our segment, because it's a very interesting topic and it's very close to our heart, because this is the summer season going on, it's the vacation season, and we see that people are thronging towards the northern areas in search of the mountainous retreats or to enjoy their vacations. But what are the risks that are fraught with such sort of adventure to the mountainous areas? And when we talk about the climate change, so without further monopolizing our conversation, we are very glad that we have been joined by AVM Ijaz Khan Saab. He happens to be on our show a couple of times too, and we are really glad that he has joined us once again, and he's also an expert in the disaster risk management. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show. Right, and we are very glad that joining us is Ms. Sadaf Khalid. She is also Global Consultant Sustainable Tourism, and she also happens to be the member of IIPT International Institute of Peace and Tourism. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Sadaf, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you.
Right.
Wonderful to have you both over here. So let's get started with you, sir. I think first things first, what we really need to talk about is where Hajra actually pointed the direction that was for us to become climate resilient.
True.
Before we do that, I think let's talk about the disaster management in the first place, because the kind of circumstances that we live in today, unfortunately, because of these monsoon torrential rains, is going to be a lot of problem for a lot of people.
Exactly. This is a very important subject, and it relates to our economy, our communities, as well as the livelihood of people who are attached to anything which has to do anything in the environment, be it the hoteliers or the people, the tour operators, and the visitors to the areas that you just highlighted in your intro. While Pakistan is blessed to have a very diverse terrain and geographic landscape, from almost 1,000 kilometer long coastline to deserts, plains, and then glaciers and world highest peaks. But this diverse landscape is definitely a risk as well, that we have chances and we keep getting an exposure to all type of disasters which are there in the textbooks, be it glacier melting, the Gulf, the landslides, and down till flash floods, river floods, and ultimately the drought or famine in our desert area.
Exactly.
And the risk of tsunami every now and then in our coastal belt. So these things are further aggravated with climate change, ever increasing temperatures, and these things are going to stay there. The need is that we plan and execute on our part as a responsible society, as a responsible nation, to mitigate these effects.
And definitely we need to learn with the climate change, because this is the reality and this is not going to change anytime sooner. So now moving to Ms. Sadaf, since you're the expert in the tourism sector, you have a vast experience there. We are going to talk about the climate resilience strategies and how to diversify those strategies as to build a more sustainable platform, because when we talk about tourism, so tourism is also seen in the global and popular discourses as a threat to a more sustainable lifestyle of living, right? So we have seen in our northern areas, we've seen that how rapidly tourism is growing there, and it is a threat to the pristine beauty of the area there, right? Number one, please let us know what are some of the problems which are related to the good governance that you face there, and when we talk about how can we make a more resilient climate strategies there in our northern areas.
Thank you so much. So currently, as we know that every year we're going through a very heavy spell of monsoons, as your colleague was mentioning, and it's not just Pakistan, it's globally the climatic changes are rapidly increasing. But what Pakistan require right now at the provincial level, the governments, the local communities, the industries that is being affected, we need to have a serious kind of strategies. The deforestation up in the mountains. It's very easy to say that there's a cloud outburst and glacier melting and this flash flooding happening. But we need to plant trees, and it's not just planting trees, we need to take care of those trees. What species are required up in those hilly areas? You can't just plant a tree which is, we plant a tree in Islamabad and you plant the same trees on those terrain. Secondly, the glaciers melting, the outbursts, they are increasing. The infrastructure development is happening in a very fast track. The concrete jungle, the hotels, the roads, the connectivity is very important. What we need to realize is that we cannot have those kind of roads and connectivity without proper planning. Because it's common sense, if you block the flow of the flash floods, it's going to be an outburst in a dam kind of situation. It's going to damage the infrastructure in those areas. So these are quite serious issues. Human lives are being affected for the communities. Not only the northern parts, you're seeing in the news, look at Karachi, look at our sewage systems in the cities, look at Lahore. So it's high time that the government, the environment experts like us, we have environmental specialists in Pakistan we have the municipalities, we have the civil administration, we have the APA, Environmental Protection Agency, we have the Pakistan Disaster Management Authority. We have those people in Pakistan. We need to stick together and have serious discussions so that we are prepared for these flash floods.
And I do believe that, that the serious conversations have taken place, but, what was the outcome of those serious conversations is something that we would certainly want to talk about. Where Madam very aptfully or rightfully has actually mentioned that, look at the cities as well. May it be Karachi, may it be Lahore. Lahore is far much more better than Karachi anyways. But what is the condition as of now, because imagine that the monsoon cycle was delayed, and after a delayed monsoon cycle, where are the cities, how the conditions are? Let's take a good look, and then we'll come back to Avim Saab over here, and we'll ask him, about the preparedness, for all of these institutes, maybe NDMA, maybe PDMA, and so do you think that is it pre or post? We'll talk about that. Let's take a good look.
Rains are likely in Islamabad, Rawalpindi and parts of Pakistan today on Tuesday and Wednesday. According to Pakistan Meteorological Department, monsoon currents from the Bay of Bengal penetrate the upper eastern parts of Pakistan. They will likely approach central southern parts of the country. Under these conditions, more monsoon rains are likely in the Twin Cities, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan, Kashmir, Upper Central Punjab, Southeastern Sindh and Balochistan the next 2 days with occasional gaps. Today, heavy rainfalls may generate flash flooding in local streams of Kashmir, Northeast Punjab, Upper Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Kohi-Suleiman and adjoining hilly areas of Northeast Balochistan. Urban flooding may also occur in the low-lying areas of northeast South Punjab, Peshawar, Karachi and lower Sindh during the forecast period. Islamabad's maximum temperature will likely remain between 32 to 34 degrees centigrade on Tuesday and 31 to 33 degrees centigrade on Wednesday. Rawalpindi's maximum temperature will likely remain between 31 to 33 degrees on Tuesday and 30 to 32 degrees on Wednesday. Under the influence of this weather system, widespread
of the climate change.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, continuing with what we were discussing, where how preparedness needs to be out there as well. So I'm going to move on to you, Ejaz Saab, once again. So we've shared the visuals, how the conditions are in Lahore. We certainly have no update as of now on to what's happening in the northern areas of Pakistan. With NDMA, with PDMA, holding their grounds, and these institutions have done a phenomenal job. But it's most of the time post-disaster. Why are we unable to still have an institute which can actually preempt that, okay, this is going to happen, let's prepare?
Actually, as per FEMA, the American Disaster Management Authority, they say that $1 spent in pre-disaster stage, saves $9 spent after the disaster. Okay, we do have Pak rupees and we have a lot of human resource.
Yep.
What we need to do is that, there are 4 distinct shades of disaster management cycle. And half of those, 2 of them, the preparatory phase and mitigation, it is a peacetime activity.
Okay.
We need to embed these things in our PSDP programs, in our developmental program, so as we do not have to react as a firefighting post events.
True.
That can be done.
But sir, I'm really sorry, but sir, I'm connecting it where Ms. Sadaf left it, that that people really need to sit together and have conversations. Now imagine, I still remember, I think from 2010 onwards, the flash flooding has been regular over here in our country. Even just the previous years, we have seen $40 billion of losses because of the climate change and these rains and floodings as well. Okay. Why do you think that these departments never come up with this idea that, okay, we are doing these post-disaster management, but why can't we do the pre?
And I think we also need to discuss that how the idea of climate change is inextricably linked to the good governance. So if you see in the urban flooding that is going on, right, and we see that in Lahore, I mean, Karachi, it was a hell of a task commuting your way in the rain. I think Shahzad can relate to that.
Yeah.
And we're witnessing
you're just off then, you cannot go anywhere.
Yes, of course, and you can witness the same sort of condition in Lahore too, because of the, I mean, not very good sort of urban planning that is going on there. So how can we mitigate that?
Actually, we say that these are natural disasters. Natural disaster per se, they do happen, but they are aggravated with human intervention.
Encroachments and there's so many things.
And so many other issues. For example, now that we are talking about monsoons or water related, these are something to do with the economics of that region or that area. For example, if you talk about Swat, we have had, you know, in 2010 and then 2012 and now again, all the hotels, they are developed close to waterfront because that attracts the tourists. Tourists do not want to go and live in the you know, remote areas into the serene nature. So, where are the building you know, bylaws? Where is the compliance of well documented policies on encroachments or construction or development of infrastructure? So, the issue is with the governance. And we have to provide. And secondly, for example, Sadaf talked about you know, deforestation. If we do not provide the alternate fuel or energy source to people, how do we expect them to not to cut trees or take care of the trees, which ultimately would help you know, restoration of those
exactly, and the problem obviously happens to be deep rooted as well. But okay, you know, just skimming through it, let me move on to Ms. Sadaf over here. So Ms. Sadaf, now obviously this is that time over here in Pakistan where the tourism needs to boom, and it's because of the fact that, you know, that this is the weather that everybody wants to be in the northern areas. Now imagine with conditions like these, how badly or what adverse effects is it going to have on the tourism industry that was just growing or nurturing?
It is, I mean, it directly impact the tourism industry. As I said, road connectivity is the first thing that tourists cannot reach out to those areas, right? That infrastructure damage in those areas. The economy, Gilgit-Baltistan, KP, these are the two, I think, provinces that they bear the front. Even Kaghan this year is badly hit. I would rather not talk about moving forward for the solutions, what we can do.
Sure.
I would like to suggest, I've been advocating this for the last, I mean, since 2010, right? It's high time, let's sit together and do it. Hire the relevant experts who understand the dynamics of those regions. You know, we say that those people are illiterate, but those people know exactly why the flash floodings are happening. They've been brought up since generations. They know why these challenges are. We don't take those communities on board. When we talk about policies at provincial level, at federal level, you need to engage. That's what the United Nations SDG 17 Partnership for Goal emphasizes. For a successful project for a rural community or the northern pass, that is required. So at the provincial level, what I feel, all the departments that I mentioned, we all need to sit together. We all need to take the community on board. We need to hear them out. Why the challenges are coming with capacity building. I emphasize again and again, we need to educate. We need to train them. If a natural disaster come, how are they going to react? We don't have waste management. We, as AVM Ijaz Saab mentioned, we don't have bylaws, the infrastructure development. So these are the major issues.
But Sadaf, you highlighted a very important issue, and I think that's very instrumental in the public discourses and the academic discourses, which is the integration of the local communities in your disaster risk management and also in mitigating the impact of climate change. But I have been to Kumrat, and what I was witnessing there is that they have beautiful cinnabar forests, and we know that it takes thousands of years for those trees to grow. But I would see, and local community was saying particularly that, you know, we are very invested with those trees and we don't allow people to cut them. And because of the infrastructure there, obviously government access cannot be there. The roads are not very nice there. But I've seen that how, I mean, rapidly they were deforesting those trees, and I would say these are, and the worth of that wood is very, very expensive, right? So do you think that those local communities, yes, they should be part of the, the solution, the broader solution, but I do see sometimes they can be part of the problem because they're also instrumental in deforestation and cutting out those trees, which is an asset to those areas, right? People flock there because of those trees there.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we need to provide them alternate source of energy. Like if they have power 24/7, why would they cut trees? Because as I said, the temperatures up in the -20, -30. They need to cut trees to cook. They need to keep themselves warm, right? So alternate source of energy is very important. Hydro projects, we have ample water. So much water is wasted in those areas. So we don't have to go for big investments. I would emphasize again, small funding, hydro projects give them alternate source of energy. They don't have the gas over there in those areas.
True.
So these are the problems, but again I would emphasize it's high time, it's a wake up call. Climate shift is happening at a global stage, globally, internationally, with these conferences. COP29 in Baku is coming.
Yep.
Pakistan is going to represent. We all, whoever is going to participate, go there prepared, get the international experts, have developed those partnerships and bring them to Pakistan, and believe me, they want to help Pakistan.
Exactly, and local communities certainly will be able to play their role, and they might might be able to give in some great ideas, because they are the ones who are actually at the brunt of it. But now, let's face reality. Obviously, this is something that we are talking about in the most ideal situations or conditions. Now imagine, sir, I'll come back to you. From today onwards, for the next 6 days, there will be monsoon rain spells in the northern areas. How do you think that anybody will be able to protect themselves, their property, their children, their livestock, or probably even if they had a new business set up for tourism? Now imagine for the northern areas, what do you think you guys will be doing?
But you see, it's not happening for the first time. It happens every year. So,
and we construct the same buildings at the same places again and again as well.
this has happened, literally this has happened because the vision is myopic. They are focused only on the season, that okay, 4 month to 6 month season.
उल्टा हम तो सर जब भी जाते हैं वो कहते हैं सीजन है, सर्दी में चले जाओ सीजन है, गर्मी में चले जाओ सीजन है.
But on the average, they don't look beyond that.
Yeah.
Because whatever they earn and save in the remaining part of the dormant season, that is their, they have to survive on
Yep.
that. But actually, we are talking about the problem. This is ultimately, we need to have a behavioral change, wherein we are actually, all of us are part of the problem. And all of us can be part of the solution as well.
But sir, in GB, I've met the local communities. It's not them that who really need to kind of move on towards the behavioral change. Those people are amazing. They're ready to help. They're very resilient. They always make sure that they're going to step ahead, not ask the government, do it themselves as well.
But somebody has to, engage them, organize them in a structured manner so that we have a sustainable model.
Yeah.
And that onus is on the leadership. That onus is on the, people who govern that area.
Yep.
Because
Or the political leadership, rather.
the political leadership.
Yep.
Unless we have ownership of the leader and the engagement of the communities, hand in gloves, only then we can have a sustainable model in any region.
Right, and sir, also let's examine this entire climate change model in the perspective of the different, I would say, threat multipliers, as the report highlights that of the climate change, in which we're also vulnerable to the food insecurity, we're also vulnerable to the poverty, we're also vulnerable to the economic degrowth, I would say. So how can we build a more inclusive sort of a pattern where we can combat the climate change while at the same time looking for the marginalized communities, because we have seen that how people have started migrating from those areas which are becoming unbearably hot, right? I mean, human existence is not possible there, so the temperature is rising to 50 degrees, 60 degrees, and particularly I'm talking about the Sui and all these areas of the Balochistan. So when the migration happens from those areas to other areas, we will witness sort of a conflict emulating, right? How can we control all of this and not, exacerbate the already existing problems?
Unless, again, it points towards the planning, the strategic planning and phase-wise execution. The rapid urbanization. You were just talking about flooding situation in Lahore. The immense urbanization. We have, done damage to the environment to an extent that half of the time, we are looking for water. We don't have water to use, and half of the time in the year we are, cursing ourselves.
Sir, we have been contributing immensely to population as well. So urbanization is something which is inevitable.
Unfortunately,
COVID में तो आपको पता है, this is the only thing that
actually, regardless of what resources we have,
Yep.
unless we control population, we will, be sitting and discussing the same.
Thank you
But
so much.
unfortunately, as an elderly, person, I would say that this is something which is a taboo in our society. We do not talk about,
and we need to address this, and if people will be out there who might have studied it very perfectly and aptly as well, and I think for all of those people who have been saying, Naiji, because we are Muslims, so we can continue to do so, even Quran actually tells you that you really need to plan a family as well. But very quickly moving on to Ms. Sadaf now. So Ms. Sadaf, we've spoken about preparedness. We have seen that how these amazing departments have actually done most of the work as well, starting from 2005 earthquakes until now. Unfortunately, every single year this is something that which has been happening. You as a member of the community and society who's very productive, who makes sure that every single day they're going to be resilient and do things on their own rather than kind of depending on to somebody else. What solutions do you have? Quick fixes.
I would remove quick fixes. I've done the capacity building of the community. They know what climate change is. They know what sustainable development goals are in this area. They know plastic is creating havoc. They know what the problems are. We need like organization like USAID, World Bank, ADP to help us for community training capacity building workshops.
Okay.
They have the funding. We can invite them in the northern areas. They can come. And last, I was just 3 days ago in Kalam Swat. I had a meeting with the local community. I took them on board and they said, Madam, whatever you say, we are learning to learn and see, and we will help you. So the communities, you don't underestimate the power because they're bearing the front of all the challenges. It's very easy to sit in a studio and talk about these issues.
True.
So what I would suggest that we have donor agencies in Pakistan. We request them to help for the capacity building, and I think that would create a change, and then that would further lead to development projects.
True.
Once we train those people how waste management or how the disaster, how they're going to be preemptive measures for floods, why deforestation is an important, how they're going to look after the trees, I think that will be the game changer, and slowly and gradually the issues that we talk, we take pilot projects, and then that will create success story.
Exactly. Well, that's wonderful, and you've wrapped it up very well for both of us as well. So thank you so much,
Thank you
Sir
so much.
Ijasa, for being with us.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much,
much.
Madam Sadaf, for being with us.
Thank you
And
so
for
much.
everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, well, these are the things that we really need to work on. But then life does go on, and for somebody who is actually celebrating their birthday, we're just going to wish them as well. So it's Mahmood Abbasi's birthday today. He happens to be a relative of one of our colleagues, Mr. Amir Shah. And so, Mahmood Abbasi, a very happy Hajj day to you. But there's only one thing that I would want to say to you, and that is, stay away from Amir Shah. Okay, you should never be seeing Amir Shah again because of the fact that he's a very naughty guy. Okay, so happy birthday to you, Mahmood Abbasi. Until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good
It's a good morning.